Hey everybody, thanks for joining me once again. It's Upon Further Review with Sean Tomlin, and it's week 14 in the NFL. So we're going to be looking over all that, but before we get to that, we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to look back, check out week 13, go over all the action that happened, and we're going to be reading off a bunch of news and highlights that happened around the NFL this week. In the latter half of the show, we're going to be getting to the fantasy portion of our show, where I'll be going over top threes in all positions, our top 5 waiver pickups, perfect lineup, and we'll be highlighting and breaking down everything that happened in the Clusterfuck 2 League. So, before we get things started though, if you're really liking this, hit the like button, hit that share button as well, and comment, and maybe we'll get to some questions from you guys on our next episode, which would be awesome. And if you want to know when this episode's coming out next, or more episodes of this season, hit the subscribe button to be alerted when new episodes will be put up and when they are available to watch. Well, also, if you really like Upon Further Review, check us out on Instagram at upon.furtherreview, where I'll be doing UFR reports and letting you know what's going to be happening if there's any time changes to the episodes or release dates, or maybe if we're going to be doing something special for the next episode. And as you can see, wonderful little kitty has decided to join us for this episode once again, so don't mind her. Let's get to the action that happened last week in week 13. Alright, so it was the Thanksgiving weekend in the NFL, so we had our classic 3 games on Thursday. It started off in the morning with the Packers going up against the Lions. Packers were able to take that victory 31-24. Josh Jacobs was coming off that knee contusion last week, so his action wasn't as strong as we would have liked to have seen, or that we have seen in the past in the regular season. So he was held back a little. Good thing his backup Wilson was pretty handy as well. Also, Love went out at one point in this game and was able to come back. Doesn't look like it was anything serious and shouldn't affect him going forward. Also, Micah Parsons, well, he was doing Micah Parsons things. But it didn't help the Lions that Amon St. Brown ended up going out in the second quarter with an ankle injury, which we'll talk about a little bit later in news and highlights. So the Packers were able to take this one 31-24. Awesome matchup. Good matchup to start off the week. Then we had probably, which I would have say, our best game of the Thursday slate, which was the Chiefs going up against the Cowboys. The Cowboys were able to take this one 31-28. Thrilling victory. Awesome matchup to watch. Cowboys were really humming. George Pickens was looking amazing again. Dak Prescott was looking great. And the defense of the Cowboys was actually starting to look really good again this week. So definitely Cowboys are looking pretty decent all the way around. And even though the Chiefs have had a little bit of an off season, they're still a really good team, but they are definitely fading out of that playoff picture pretty quickly. Then our Thursday finished off with the Bengals going up against the Ravens. I thought this was going to be a lot closer of a matchup because the Ravens have... I'm still not getting used to this new Ravens. They're not as good as they have been in the past few years. It's no secret. Lamar Jackson's been in and out of the lineup. They haven't had really that number one wide receiver that you truly feel like that's their number one guy. Obviously, Mark Andrews hasn't been Mark Andrews. And the defense hasn't been the way that they have historically been. On another note of that, the Ravens defense has always historically looked good in December, so still have time to right the ship and turn that thing around. But the Bengals were able to get this victory, 32-14. Jamar Chase had a good day. And Joe Burrow was back in the lineup, and he was looking not bad at all, especially with all that rust he probably was shaking off in the beginning of that game. So then we also had another matchup on Friday, which was the Bears versus the Eagles. I did not see the Bears doing as good as they did. I did take them last week as a pick for the Bears to take this victory. Eagles still looked good, but they obviously just weren't able to put the pen to paper on that one, and they weren't able to get the victory. Caleb Williams has been looking really, really good lately, and their backfield has been looking great with Monagi and Swift. So, good things going on with the Bears right now. They might be more than what we thought the Bears were going to be when this season started. I definitely did not see this kind of play coming out of them. So then in our Sunday afternoon slate, we had the Falcons going up against the Jets. Not a very, what's the word to say? Not a very glamorous matchup. Not one that you're writing home about. Can't wait to watch this type game. But it was a very close game. Jets looked actually pretty decent. It was a victory for the Jets, 27-24. Falcons put up a pretty good fight, but they just weren't able to get it done over the Jets. Jets were just looking a little bit unbeatable that day. In our next matchup, we had the 49ers going up against the Browns. Shedeur Sanders did look good in his most recent game before this one. I thought he was going to be able to put up a little bit more in the way that their defense had been running, but it just wasn't able to really accumulate into an actual victory. It was just kind of more of a lackluster performance. Shedeur did still have an okay day, but all around the Browns did not. With the 49ers taking that one 26-8. CMC had a pretty good day, Kittle had a good day, and Purdy had a good day. In our next matchup, we had the Rams going up against the Panthers. Did not see this one coming. The Panthers were able to take that one out 31-28. Definitely didn't see that coming. I thought the Panthers, they have looked a lot better in the past few weeks. But definitely didn't see them doing this well. I did, especially because the Rams have been a pretty good defense. They've been a stellar team all season long. The record shows that. But the Panthers were able to take that victory. I think it's more of those it's one of those things where all these teams in the NFL are fucking awesome. Every team is great, from your starter to your backup. These guys are capable of playing football. You'll get a victory once in a while. Everybody gets one once. The Panthers team was playing a lot better that day than the Rams, and they were able to take them out. It was a slim victory, but definitely give a shout out to the Panthers. They had a good matchup that day, and they were able to take down the Rams. In the next matchup, we had the Texans going up against the Colts. It was a good matchup. The Texans defense was looking awesome. CJ Stroud in his first game back was looking very good, and then it just really hurt the Colts not having DeForest Buckner out there. Obviously they lost Sauce Gardner, not an ankle or to a kind of a calf strain, not an Achilles, so that's good to see. But yeah, definitely not having DeForest Buckner in there and not having an elite outside defensive end like a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby type thing. They just did not have somebody on the back end or on the outside of the defensive line that was able to what's a better word, to make up for the lack of the pressure that they were missing from the interior of that line from Buckner. So they were able to put up a good fight, but it wasn't good enough. It was a 20-16 victory. Like I said, CJ Stroud had a great day, and the Texans defense has been looking stellar the past few weeks. In our next matchup, we had the Cardinals going up against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers were able to take this one 20-17, even though Baker Mayfield's been looking a little bit banged up, but they now have Chris Godwin back after an injury earlier in the season. Could see things progressing a little bit more for them. They're still looking really good. I think they just have a couple more steps to get past, but definitely could be a playoff team if they play their cards right. Then in our next matchup, we had the Saints going up against the Dolphins. Didn't really have too much. It wasn't a great game. It wasn't a game I was looking forward to, but Dolphins were able to put the everything together, get that 21-17 victory. In our next matchup after that, we had to go, the Jaguars going up against the Titans. And, well, the Titans have been bad all year long. They just haven't looked good. And they especially didn't look good on this day. Jaguars got that 25-3 victory over them. Jaguars were looking like a competent team. But sometimes when you're playing a bottom feeder team, they make you look a little bit better than you actually are. In our next matchup, we had the Seahawks going up against the Vikings, and the Seahawks blanked the Vikings 20-0 or 26-0 in that victory. Seahawks have just been looking dominant all year. Their defense has been looking really good. Sam Darnold's running that team very efficiently, so Seahawks are definitely a team to look out for in the NFC. In our next matchup, we had the Bills going up against the Steelers. Bills were able to take that one easily, 26-7. Steelers were just being the Steelers, having one of their off games, looking a little bit out of sorts, not all with it. Obviously, with the offensive production, has to be something with Aaron Rodgers injured or broke multiple breaks in his left arm, non-throwing arm. Obviously, him not being able to be under center and having to be sitting in the backfield doing a shotgun, it takes away from some of the plays and some of the mystery that they have on their offense. So it's definitely got to be not helping the offense at all, having that kind of a problem going on with your quarterback. Next matchup, we had the Raiders going up against the Chargers. Another kind of instance of the Titans here. Chargers didn't look bad, but you're going up against a bottom feeder team. 31-14, they got the victory, but Justin Herbert wasn't able to escape a little bit of an injury on the play in the game, so we'll get into that in just a moment. Then, in our Sunday Night Football game, we had an amazing matchup. If you got a chance to watch this one, you were in luck. What a gem this one was. It was a 27-26 thrilling victory in overtime for the Broncos. Bo Nix, well, he's looking like the real deal. He's got a lot of things to airing out a little bit in his game, but you can just see the bright spots of the player that he is and what he's going to be. Then everything came down to our Monday Night Football matchup. It was the Giants versus the Patriots, and the Patriots won. Patriots ended up winning 33-15. Patriots have been looking good all year. Drake May was having a great day. Trayvon Henderson was having a good day, and they were just taking past not a bottom feeder team, but one of the bottom of the league in the Giants. Jackson Dart took a lot of big hits in that game, and their kicker had a little bit of a misfortunate time with a field goal, which we will talk about in just a moment here. But before we get to all the news and action that happened over this past week, let's look back at what happened. Or no, we just did that. We're going to look forward. See what happened in what's going to happen in week 14. And I'm going to give you guys my picks for who I think is going to win in each game. So it's all going to start on Thursday Night Football with the Cowboys going up against the Lions. And I think this one, it could be more shootout-ish. Cowboys defense has been looking a lot better, but I see a big offensive performance coming from the Cowboys this week. So, definitely taking the Cowboys in that game. On Sunday, we're going to start it off. We've got the Titans going up against the Browns. Browns are the team that's had probably one of the best-looking defenses. Well, maybe not best-looking defenses, but they've had the most pressure and had obviously the most sacks in the past 6 games. So in the 30s or something like that. Myles Garrett's been unreal, on pace to break the sack record this year. But Definitely taking the Browns to win this game over the Titans. In our next matchup, we got the Steelers and the Ravens. Always a good match to watch. Steelers and Ravens always have a good game. Neither one of these teams have been looking super elite. So I expect more of a hard-nosed match. I think it's going to be really defensive and not really high scoring. Obviously, both offenses have the capability to put up a lot of points. I don't necessarily see that happening in this game. I see it being more of a low-scoring defensive game. But I'm going to take the Steelers to win in that game. I just don't think that the Ravens are as good as, obviously, previous versions of the Ravens. I don't think they're that team this year. In our next matchup, we've got the Colts going up against the Jaguars. Wasn't I just saying, when you go up against a bad team, it makes you look like you're better than you are? Well, I think that's going to happen to the Jaguars. Although they have had a good season, they got a good record behind them. You're not beating the Colts. Colts are taking this victory easily. I can't say easily. I want to say super easily. But without Gardner, without DeForest Buckner, I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think they'll have Buckner back this game. I think that's more of a next week thing, a week 15. I think there was a possibility that he could be back from his 4-game stint on IR, but I don't think that's this weekend. I think that's the following weekend. But so I'm taking the Colts to take that victory, of course. Always pick the Colts. Now we're going to get into our next matchup. We got the Commanders going up against the Vikings. Vikings were shut out, and the Commanders barely lost this last weekend. I'm taking the Commanders to take that victory over the Vikings. I just haven't seen enough out of the Vikings to be like, yeah, this is an elite-looking offense like they were last year with Sam Darnold. It's not a slam dunk. They have had moments. They've had their games where they've looked pretty good. I don't think it's going to come against the Commanders. I believe Marcus Mariota is still going to be starting for them. Haven't heard too much on the injury front with Jalen Daniels, so expect Mariota to be under center again, which he hasn't looked bad, but be surprised and happy if you get to see Daniels, because he's one heck of a football player, one of those young quarterbacks that you just enjoy seeing. Hopefully he does not take the same path as Robert Griffin III, though, and we all know what happened with him. In our next matchup, we had the Bills going up against the our next matchup, we have the Bills going up against the Bengals. I'm going to say the Bengals on this one, just because of the fact that they have Joe Burrow back. Bills are a formidable team. They have been dominant the past few years. I could easily see this one being an upset, and I'm taking it over the Bengals, but I think the Bengals got this one. I think it's going to be a slim victory for them. Then we have probably the greatest matchup ever. The Jets versus the Dolphins. Yeah, you heard me. It doesn't really matter who I pick. I'm going to say the Dolphins on this one, just because it's got the Jets. The Jets are probably one of the worst teams in the league. They have gotten back-to-back victories now, but I just don't see the Jets. I don't see the Jets doing much of anything until they completely overhaul that organization. So I'll take the Dolphins on that one. Next up, we got the Seahawks going up against the Falcons. I'm going to say Seahawks in this one. Their defense has been looking good. Sam Darnold's been looking really good. Najigba's been looking good. So they have the offense, the defense going the way they want it to. And the Falcons are just kind of up and down. They aren't a bad team. They can pull off a victory any week they want. Just depends on if they want to do it. Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. I'm not saying he's an upgrade from Penix. Not saying he's a downgrade from Penix. But definitely going to want to take the Seahawks on this one. I don't think the Falcons are going to be able to push that one through. Excuse me there. Then our next matchup, we got the Saints going up against the Buccaneers. I'm going to take the Buccaneers in this one because the Saints have not been showing me enough of being anything near consistent. I think the Buccaneers are a better team than them by far. And I think you will see some good things coming from the Saints in a little bit here. But obviously, they are missing Kamara right now. Rookie quarterback show. Not really anybody besides Chris Olave at wide receiver. And, yeah, I think it's going to be an easy victory for the Buccaneers on this day. Then we got the Broncos going up against the Raiders in the afternoon slate. And going to take the Broncos there. They've been looking great. Bo Nix has been looking great. And the Raiders have not been looking great. Then we've got the Rams going up against the Cardinals. If the Panthers were able to get a victory over the Rams last week, the Cardinals definitely could too. Jacoby Brissett's running that offense the best he can, although without all the missing pieces. But, definitely going to take the Rams to win this one. I think they're going to take that loss last week and turn it into a W this week. Then we got the Bears going up against the Packers. Bears and Packers, usually always a good matchup. Both teams have been playing great this year. I'm going to say Bears take this victory, but I think it's going to be a very close victory. Might even be coming down to a field goal to take the victory. Then on our Sunday night football matchup, we've got the Texans going up against the Chiefs. This is almost starting to feel like it's do or die for the Chiefs. They're going to definitely, I think, need this victory. But the Texans, they have been looking great on defense. So this is going to be a great test. Possibly see the stopping of the Mahomes and the Chiefs from making the playoffs. But maybe the Chiefs decide to come alive in Week 14 and push right through and get themselves into the playoffs. But I'm going to take the Texans on this one just because I think their defense is just that much better. And then our week finishes off on Monday Night Football with the Eagles going up against the Chargers. Obviously, Herbert's dealing with an injury right now, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute here. But I still think the Chargers are going to take this victory. I think they got a good defense. I think they've got some weapons on offense that Herbert can utilize and maybe find some holes in what's already a great team. Not that the Eagles have many holes. I see the Chargers probably taking this victory. It could easily be the Eagles because they are one of the best teams in the league. Have looked like one of the best teams, not by record. But I just think the Chargers got the Eagles in this matchup. All right, so that was everything that we're looking forward to in Week 14, picks, all that kind of fun stuff. Now let's get into some news and highlights of shit that happened around the NFL this week. Well, it all started off, not it all started off, but let's start off here. Colts waived their kicker Bagley after a missed PAT against the Titans this weekend. And they have signed former Saints kicker Group after a tryout, which also included Justin Tucker. So they didn't just look at one person and be like, yeah, we're going with you. But at the same time, Badgley hadn't been bad. He hadn't been great. But, missing those PATs, that one kick, it should have been in. I don't agree with that call, but that is more the referees than anything else. So, but the kicker for the Colts is moving on, and it looks like they're going to be going to Grupp. So he's on the practice squad right now. Easily could be elevated by game time. Still early in the week. I would expect to see that confirmation and news tomorrow or even the next day. Steelers made a couple moves. They claimed Adam Thielen off of waivers from the Vikings, hoping to help their offensive woes, as Aaron Rodgers said, that their receivers are just kind of crap right now, and it's more their fault, not my broken hand. Anywho, they picked up Thielen, and he's looking to actually help and contribute in his final NFL season. Other moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers made is they waived Darius Slay, the former Eagles Super Bowl champion last year, and they called up Asante Samuel Jr. to fill his place from the practice squad. So, not sure what's happening with Darius Slay. Is he going to go back to the Eagles? Is he going to go somewhere else? His desire is to keep on playing, but maybe he just wasn't a good fit in the Steel City, the Steel Curtain there. Maybe he needs to go back to the Eagles. Maybe that's just where he looked good. He was able to fit in that scheme. Justin Herbert, as I was talking about before, had surgery on his fractured hand today. He's considered day to day at the moment. His status for this weekend's game isn't a no, isn't a yes. They're saying there's a very good possibility he could be available. He obviously played through a couple of games last year with a fractured finger. So this isn't new for them. They would just make adjustments, having him out of the shotgun more than under center, just to deal with the injury as much as they could. Now, this was a good one. I don't know if you watched the Giants-Patriots matchup last night. Not a lot of people did. But Young Koo, the kicker for the Giants, completely botched his field goal. Like, he didn't miss it because he kicked it. He kicked the ground. He took a fucking chunk out of the ground as big as his foot. That's how badly he missed it. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could mess up that bad doing a kick, but at least he's showing that he is number one when it comes to doing something like that. Patriots, as I was saying earlier, became the first 11-win team this season. They've been having a great year. Woohoo. I don't like the Patriots. I never picked them. This week, I kind of made you think, oh, maybe I'm going to pick the Patriots. No, it's just not going to happen. I don't pick the Patriots. I don't really like talking about the Patriots, but they are in the NFL, and sometimes things happen, and I need to talk about them. Leave it at that. All right, back to some team that actually matters. Your Indianapolis Colts. Sauce Gardner, he was able to avoid an Achilles injury, but apparently he has a strained calf, so he is out for a little while. They're not saying how long. They're not saying the severity of the injury, but they are saying that he is expected to be back before the end of the regular season, whether that's the last game before the regular season or next game after next. That would be great. Maybe it's week 15. Maybe it's week 18. Won't really know. But they are saying that he should be back before the end of the season. Shadur Sanders, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, is going to be getting his third straight start this weekend. I think it's a great move for Cleveland to be leaving him in and playing him as much as they have. He's been looking like a great quarterback. I think he has a big future coming up in this league. They put some pieces around him, build up their offensive line. I think they could really have something going there in Cleveland. Amon St. Brown, injured his ankle in the game over the weekend. They're saying he's day to day. Could possibly play this weekend. I wouldn't doubt it. The guy, if you watched Receiver on Netflix, he's gone through some pretty tough stuff. So if it's just a minor ankle injury, like a tweak or a strain or something like that, I wouldn't expect him to not be out there. Finishing up the news around the NFL, Bo Nix looked great in his slim victory over the Commanders on the weekend, or on Sunday night, and they only won because of a stop 2-point conversion attempt in overtime, and they held on for the rest of the matchup to take that victory. If you got to see that match, you were treated very well. You got exactly what you wanted. It was a great matchup to watch. Definitely one of my top games for for picking to watch for this past weekend. It definitely would have been the Commanders and Broncos. Definitely would not have thought of that. So that was awesome to see. All right, so now we're going to move on to the latter half of the show and talk about some fantasy football. And to start that off, we're going to talk about my top threes. We're not going to talk about my top threes. I'm going to talk about the top threes at all positions over the weekend in fantasy football. Started off with the quarterbacks. It was being led by Mahomes, then followed by Allen, and then Lamar Jackson. Down week for quarterback points. They weren't super high. Wasn't what we had been normally seeing of averaging points for quarterbacks. So down week for quarterbacks this week. Running backs was Gibbs, Taylor, and Achane. Also saw a drop in the points for running backs this past weekend. Wide receiver, Najigba, Nakua, and Chase rounded out the top threes in those positions. For our tight ends, we had McBride, Bowers, and Goddard. Tight end points were a little bit higher than we had normally seen. That was good to see. And defensive points were down a little bit, but they were led by the Jaguars, followed by the Seahawks and the Rams. All right, so let's go and start looking at our top 5 waiver wire pickups for the week. I'm going to say you're going to want to get Chuba Hubbard. He's been looking pretty good for the Panthers. They're starting to use him a lot more. Rico Dowdle is still a viable option, but it looks like they're starting to even out the carries between the two, and Hubbard seems to be making the most out of his opportunities that are given. So if you get a chance, I would add Hubbard. Monagi, if he's not already taken in your league, you're going to want to pick him up. Him and the combination between DeAndre Swift has been quite a formidable backfield for the Chicago Bears. So if he's available, go ahead, pick him up. Trevor Lawrence, although he's going up against a tough test of the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, their defense has been looking good. He has been looking good himself, putting his team in awesome position right now. He's been putting together consistent points. So if Trevor Lawrence is available out there, you're going to want to try and pick him up. Next, Darren Waller came back 2 weekends ago now. He's looking like a favorite target for Tua. He was before he left on injury, and he is when he has come back. So if Darren Waller is out there and available, you're going to want to pick him up. And then lastly, Adonia Mitchell. I made the mistake of trying to get him a little bit earlier. I might want to try and pick him back up. He has definitely been looking like one of the top targets for the New York Jets right now, obviously without Garrett Wilson. So the Jets quarterbacks are moving the ball around, and Adonia Mitchell is catching a couple of those ones. And not looking like a too bad of an option. Getting more comfortable in the offense, learning the playbook. And he looks like he might be somebody that you're going to want to stash. Maybe come playoff time. He's somebody you want to throw out. All right. So those are the top 5 waiver wire pickups. Next, I've got what I call my perfect lineup. If you have all these players and you put them in, you're going to get all the points that you need. For quarterback, Dak Prescott. Followed by for running backs, you're going to want Achane and Taylor. For your wide receivers, you're going to want Lamb and Pickens. I think the combination between Prescott, Lambs, and Pickens is going to be huge. I think Tyler Warren's going to have an awesome weekend, so you're going to want to get him. Warren and Taylor are going to look awesome. Achane going up against the Saints. The Saints don't have the strongest defense right now, so and the Saints, well, not the Saints, the Dolphins don't really have too many options aside from Achane. So he's definitely looking like he's going to get a lot of opportunities in the pass and the run game. And then the Browns defense going up against the Tennessee Titans. All right. So that was some of the fantasy news for the week. We're going to get into our Clusterfuck 2 fantasy information. And I break down everything that happened last week, the standings, what the playoff picture looks like, and what's happening next week's matchups. So let's go ahead and look at Week 13's matchups and who won and who lost. Now, there was a lot of things riding on Week 13. Caden was going up against Shane, and Bianca was going up against um, Nathan. Both vying for a playoff spot, Bianca and Nathan in one division. Shane and Caden in the other division, and them going against each other. And unfortunately, Caden, you weren't able to get the victory, so that means you're out. You're out of the dance, but you are now in for the end of the year toilet bowl. And if you don't know what our toilet bowl is, that's for 9th and 10th place. The only people that don't make it into our fantasy football playoffs. These guys go up against each other to decide who's not the shittiest. But Caden, you have a chance to say you're not the shittiest. Good job, bud. You lost to Shane, though, this weekend. 148 or 149.65 to 99.45. In our next matchup, we had Hot Job Time Machine, my team, going up against Ty's team, Protect Your Holes. Ty was able to get the victory, 150.95 to 127.85. Just had a better day all around. Some of my players just didn't come to play, and Ty's definitely did. Although he had Amon St. Brown, and he went out, still wasn't able to help me. In our next matchup, we had Chase Ventura, Les's team, going up against Simon's team, the Mark Davis Bull Cut. The Mark Davis Bull Cut was able to put out a great day, getting a 177.20 victory to 125.60 over Les's team, and ended up scoring the most points in the league this week. So congratulations, Simon. Then on our next matchup, we had Graham's team, CD's Nuts, going against Pass the Dutch. Now, if you're like, who's CD's Nuts? He was the bench whisperer and G-Spot. Graham's been moving around his team name a little bit this week. Good. Anywho, CD's Nuts was able to get the victory, 159.50 against Dan's team, Pass the Dutch, 146.55. And in our final matchup, and this one had playoff implications going into it, was Bianca's team, HN and the Membrane, going against Nathan's team, Don't Be a Kyron. If Bianca got the victory, she ended up being able to go to Week 14 with a chance of still making the playoffs. And that's exactly what she did, with a 157.10 to 115.40 victory. Now it comes down to Week 14. In Week 14, if Bianca wins, she's in. And matching that with a Nathan loss. If Nathan and Bianca are both winning, both get that victory this weekend, Bianca will get in from a points advantage for points 4. Same thing if Bianca and Nathan both were to lose in their matchups coming up this weekend. Basically, Nathan, you need Bianca to lose this weekend, and you need to get a victory if you want to be in the playoffs this year. So let's go ahead and look at the standings and see where everything's sitting right now. Basically, I've made everything pretty clear for you by going through that. Dan is leading the Happy Gilmore division at an 8-4-1 record. Simon is right behind him at 8-5-0. And Graham is right behind Simon at 7-5-1. With Shane sitting at 6-7-0 in the 4th place, with Caden in last place and sitting outside the playoffs, where he will sit for the season. Basically, as it stands right now, it's looking like it's going to either be Dan or Simon, depending on what happens in this weekend's matchup. With both of them, they'll be going up against Shane, and it'll either be Dan or Simon going up against Graham. That doesn't really help you too much. But the way it's looking right now is Graham's going to be locked into that 3rd place position in the standings, so he will take on the middle matchups there in round 1 of the playoffs. We still got another week to go. And now in the Shooter McGavin division, kind of the same situation is going on. We've got Les leading it at 8-5-0. Right behind him is Protect Your Holes with Ty with 8-5-0. My team with 7-6. And Bianca's team at 4-9, and Nathan's team at 4-9. Obviously, we know what's going to be going on with the bottom two teams, with Bianca and Nathan's teams. I'm kind of locked into the third position. Could very well take over second, but we'll see. I have a slim. Ty has me with a slim points advantage over in that one. So even if Ty were to get the victory and I were to get the victory, or if Ty were to get the loss and I were to get the victory, even if all those things were to happen, it might not still happen. All right. So in our matchups for this upcoming weekend for Cluster Truck, we got my team, the Hot Tub Champions team, going up against Simon's team, the Mark Davis Bull Cut. We got Shane's team, GB Packers going up against Protect Your Holes, Ty's team. Then we got Caden's team going up against Nathan's team. Riley, read me a book and don't be a Kyron. Then we've got Past the Dutch, Dan's team going up against Bianca's team, H.N. and the Membrane. And Graham's team, CD's Nuts, going up against Les's team, Chase Ventura. All right, everybody. That's everything for you this week. Sorry about that. That's everything for you this week. Thanks for tuning in. Had a great time with you. Hope we answered everything you were looking for. Let you know everything you were needing and helped you with some of your fantasy news. Join me again next week, where I'm going to break down everything you need to know.